Welcome to the world today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan. Finally, the long-awaited policy of the Trump administration for the Southeast Asian region from India all the way to Iran has been declared by the President. The Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces, Mr. Donald Trump, laid out his vision for the region, and that is going to be our discussion for today. Well, Mr. Trump has basically backed off the Afghan withdrawal that he claimed. He said that it was a waste of time and money, but unfortunately he thinks that that is no longer true, as things look very different from behind the desk in the Oval Office. So we'll talk about that, and he's also lambasted Pakistan over terrorist safe havens, which are, as Pakistan has said repeatedly, no more a fact. So let's get the conversation started. I'd like to introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me at the moment, we have former Ambassador Mian with us. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Sir, first of all, first impressions. You must have gone through the speech. What did it feel like to you, sir? Was there anything new in there?
Frankly, there are some elements of surprise, but not really. I would say it is like to the last phase of Obama, minus the element of surprise, and there is no indication of time frame as well as the number games.
So basically they've spilled the beans about their presence in Afghanistan, which is now God knows still when. We always heard that the Americans wanted to pull out of Afghanistan and have a political government in place and let Afghanistan, or let the Afghans decide for themselves how they want to rule their own country. But now it seems that the Americans have let the cat out of the bag, so to speak.
Yes, you can say that, but if you read the text carefully, there is an emphasis on victory, immediate, and how he wants to achieve is missing, because the ingredient in his so-called new strategy is the old one, and he does not give us any clue how he is going to implement those pieces of strategy and how he is going to cook the broth. He himself admits that this military might is not the only solution. You have to have economic, diplomatic, and military. But he calls it to be military part to be used strategically employed. But how, he does not explain. So he is hung up in the phraseology and rhetorics of the past, and he didn't know how to get out from his immediate threats that he has taken a very comprehensive review. He has first, I think 6 paragraphs, he has focused on family, American family. And then he talks about divisions within. And he talks about the need to unify the nation against 3 objectives he wants from his strategy. But how can he paper over the kind of confusion which has been created in the past 6 months, not only by him, but by his so-called talented general who are in command of the military, and those, the club of the adult and the minor, meaning the state secretary and their role. And we were told that he has been asking very tough questions. If he has been asking very tough questions, he should be aware of the Pakistan's continued strategic importance for the solution. He talks about the third aim is that there should not be the 9/11 objective should be achieved. If that has to be achieved, if the solution has to be lasting and enduring, then how you could ignore Pakistan and base all your strategic partnership and all your emphasis on a country which does not enjoy borderland with Afghanistan. And one thing is alarming, that while he exaggerate the importance of India as a strategic partner. He forgets to mention that Pakistan's is still relevant. It is not its past contribution which need to be appreciated. Pakistan has been on board. Only 2 or 3 days back, our General Chief of Staff, Bajwa Sahab, has mentioned he is not going to have any distinction while dealing with terrorists. And then he has entertained the American generals, American commanders. It means it is not only the civilian side, it is the military side as well, which have lost all kind of credit with the Americans, which is worrisome.
Well, let's also introduce our guests in the studio. Joining me at the moment, we have Manzoor Afridi Saab. He's the head of the department of the IR department in the Islamic University and also an expert on foreign affairs. Thank you very much, Afridi Saab, for being here. Afridi Saab, we're talking about Mr. Trump's new policy that was awaited for the past many months, but there seems to be nothing new about that policy at all. And in the way that he has invited India to take a more proactive role in rebuilding Afghanistan and also castigating them in a way that they're not paying enough, but at the same time completely sidelining Pakistan from the equation, or rather putting all the blame on Pakistan for chaos and terrorism and so forth. He's basically singing India's song when it comes to the region. And there seems to be no strategy, no policy that is geared towards promoting peace in this entire region. In fact, the policy aims to keep the region unsettled, and continued American presence in Afghanistan is not going to help matters. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, well, the entire world was waiting for the American policy regarding Afghanistan. Especially the AfPak region was too much anxious about the Trump's new Afghan policy. That what would it be? But it was clear last night that there is not such thing of fundamental or any change thing. I think it is just the continuity of the previous US administrations regarding Afghanistan, and also if we include Pakistan. So that is the same thing what they are talking about, the military solution of the Afghanistan's imbroglio, and also the same thing that was repeated, that is the blame game regarding Pakistan. Well, it is very strange if we see, and the world community has recognized the Pakistan's sacrifices, what it has done in this war on terror. You know about our IDPs, internally displaced persons. You know about the military operations that is even still going on within Pakistan, and what we have lost in both in human and also in capital and in infrastructure. So there is a great and so many times, many-fold than what we have received from America. And even that Trump has also talked about the billions of dollars given to Pakistan, right? But we have, I would say, that trillions of dollars loss has been done, you know, to Pakistan in this war on terror. On the other hand, there is appreciation for India. So if we see and if we count, just to gauge the Indian involvement in this war on terror or the Indian sacrifices, I think nothing. Right, so it was Pakistan what the America has given, the Bush administration had given, you know, the frontline state status in 2004. So that was what? That was recognition of the Pakistan's geographical position and also the Pakistan's commitment in this war on terror. But now the new US administration that is blaming Pakistan for all these things, and the entire world is witnessing, and also in the past has appreciated the Pakistan's concerns and also the Pakistan's sacrifices in this war on terror. But India has done nothing. Let me tell you that it was the General McChrystal back in 2009 and 2010, which was the commander of the ISAF, International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan. He said that acknowledging India's role in Afghanistan, that would not bring fruit, but otherwise, it will have grave consequences. So I mean, by sidelining Pakistan, there will be no end of war in Afghanistan, and there will be no political solution and no peace in Afghanistan, because we know that peace and stability in Afghanistan, it means peace and stability in Pakistan. So America should recognize, and as the world knows, that there is no settlement in Afghanistan if the Pakistan sacrifices or Pakistan's role denied, right? So even the regional states, Turkey, Iran, and also China and Russia, they acknowledge Pakistan's role. And the previous meetings about the Afghanistan problem and about the solution, that what has been done among Pakistan, China, and Russia. So they are also striving for this. I mean that whether that is on the large level, if we see through the perspective of the United Nations, if we see from the perspective of NATO and the United States, or if we see regionally, I mean by aligning or by cementing ties with China and Russia and some other regional states. So in every form and every perspective, there is need of Pakistan that should be acknowledged and appreciated, because we have also suffered a lot in this war on terror, militarily, economically, psychologically, socially, and all these things. So I think that if they can't recognize Pakistan's sacrifices, it is their failure, and this policy, I don't think so that it will be successful in future.
Ambassador Saab, I'd like to jog everybody's memory a little bit. When we look at the historical relationship between the US and Pakistan, we've been the greatest allies since 1947, ever since we came into being. And once the American objectives were completed, which was defeating the Soviet Union using Afghanistan as the proxy, they dumped Pakistan, they sanctioned Pakistan for being their best friends and helping them to achieve their goals. And now again we find ourselves in the same position. So what lessons should Pakistan really be learning from their relationship with the US over a period of 70 years, sir?
Actually, I would say we should come out of this dictionary that which contains the word dumping, throwing away, deserting. We must realize that the relationship between states are transactional, based on specific environment, or most likely on case-to-case basis. Only in exceptional cases, such a relationship develops into strategic needs, which then binds you into a partnership. Luckily, we have got that kind of partnership with Turkey. We have got that kind of partnership with China. And if you take out those bones, even these partnerships would collapse. So don't blame America only. Blame yourself as well. Now we are talking about specific Afghanistan problem. We can go into history and can build our own narrative, but I think that would be futile. We joined in the after 9/11, the things changed. Whatever you may say, we had in terms of relationship with America, that also dynamically changed. It has its own dynamics, it has its own pulses and its own pulse. Now, the situation with Trump is slightly different. Though, as I said earlier, more or less, it is akin, the policy is akin to what we saw and we witnessed and we experienced. And in certain quarters, we had the little courage to protest as well, is the same. But the new elements are that he is not prepared to give in the beans when he is going to attack, and how many people he is going to deploy. He wants to keep everything secret under the carpet, and he is going to use the terror of surprise, and he gives the complete assurance there would be attack. And he says, we are killer, we are killing.
Yes, he
We are
said
not
that we are
building.
not in the process of building nations in our own image, rather
So
we are in the business of killing terrorists.
And then for me, the thing is that he has not spoken about Pakistan, which is a departure, saying that Pakistan is harboring, or Pakistan, he used the word housing, safe haven, not for Haqqani group or for Taliban. He has talked about agents of chaos, tension, and terror. And then while he's talking about these things, these are big, big acquisitions, and he's enlarging the net of terrorism he calls is present in Pakistan in safe houses, is enlarging the scope. And he's trying to imply that we are the supply source to whatever happens in wider regions beyond this region.
That's a very dangerous sort of
I'm
narrative
really-
that he's building, sir. Let's also talk about the fact that the new policy also does not talk about any timeline for the engagement in Afghanistan. So building up more troops, I mean, at the time, at the peak of the U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, we saw over 100,000 troops involved. Now that number is somewhere closer to 13,000. How can we even expect that another additional surge of 3,900 troops is going to make a difference in the situation in Afghanistan, number one? But what it does say is that America intends to have a perpetual war, a never-ending war in Afghanistan for God knows how long.
Sir, remember his words. He is talking about no numbers of additional troops. That means he may or may not send new troops. Or even if he sends, he has kept the entire decision making with the
Generals.
people on the ground. And he has spoken about all kind of weapons which are available or which are in the pipeline. They would have the power to make the decision when and which weapon they need to use in order to get the target. They don't need to consult, wait for a signal from Washington. It is a new trend. It is Trump's stamp. And the second thing, you say the troops, maybe it is not only troops. He said all kind of weapons would be used.
So when we think about that, it also implies that the suggestion of using mercenaries in Afghanistan is also not off the table. Afridi Sahab, in your opinion,
Also think about drone attacks. Think about aerials.
it's all been
attacks,
happening in the previous Obama administration.
Yes, but the frequency and the threat perceptions.
So basically, sir, what the new policy that everybody was hoping and expecting from the U.S. has turned out to be old wine in a new bottle, and that's basically it. So considering the fact that there is nothing new in the American policy in the region, what should be our point of view? What should be our strategic decision-making process when dealing with the U.S. in this situation?
Well, we cannot compromise on our sovereignty, and we cannot do any more, just at the cost of the loss for Pakistan, right? For example, the US appreciated India and also welcomed the Indian more role in Afghanistan, especially economically, right? So what does it mean? Pakistan has already concerns over Indians' involvement in Afghanistan, right? And also we know that India has been involved against Pakistan. So it means if today US acknowledged India's role, or US is welcoming India for more and more role in Afghanistan, it means that there is destabilization for Pakistan. Even in Obama's administration, he also said that bringing India for more role in Afghanistan, it would have concerns for Pakistan. So it means that if now he is welcoming India for economic role in Afghanistan, so in future possible that US ask India for military's role in Afghanistan, who knows, right? So that would be a direct threat for Pakistan's sovereignty. So first, Pakistan should tell the United States, and also should very clearly bring in the limelight that Pakistan has done too much in this war on terror. Yes, we are facing this menace of terrorism and also this kind of extremism, right? Pakistan itself is the victim of terrorism, right? And we have done a lot of sacrifices. So we can have partnership, yes. And you face this problem, we face this problem, so we can have partnership. And diplomatically, Pakistan should raise its voice at different forums, right? Regional organization, and also through bilateral level. Where are the fault line, for example, in intelligence sharing or in whatever in other domains? So both the states, they can sit together and they can resolve all these issues. And second, United States should not, for example, also Trump, he also said that Pakistan should endorse American policy, this new policy in Afghanistan. So it means that everything or every kind of action what America wants, Pakistan should welcome it. No, Pakistan has its own sovereignty. Pakistan should have its own decisions regarding that what kind of better and best solution can be for the Afghans imbroglio, right? Where Pakistan can talk with regional states, Pakistan even can talk directly with Afghan administration, as has done, because Pakistan has always welcomed Afghan-led and Afghan-owned initiatives, whether those are in military perspective, or those are diplomatically, or those are negotiations with the Afghan Taliban, right? So in every mean that Pakistan should follow its own free decisions, and its own policy not should be dictated by America or any other state.
Absolutely. Let's talk a bit about the domestic backlash after this policy was announced. The Democrats weren't very happy about it. In fact, Nancy Pelosi's statement is quite telling, and she has said that an open-ended commitment of American lives with no accountability to the American people is what Mr. Donald Trump is proposing in his new policy. How do you think that's going to be taken domestically? Also, if you look at the way things have happened, Mr. Steve Bannon, who is a very close strategic advisor for Mr. Trump, was shown the door. So do you think there was a bit of internal strife when maybe Mr. Bannon was advocating for the Americans to pull out of Afghanistan, and he was shown the door because of giving this advice to the president? Do you think there's a bit of that also at play, sir?
No, there has been a division within the House. There has been a division between the generals as well as the Secretary of State.
Rex Tillerson.
Yeah. But we cannot say this kind of statement would be taken too seriously, or they will open up something and big, or create big problem for the American president. Because you have to come out from the shell we have created around us, which is false, I think so. That America looks up to you as a strategic ally. America cannot live without you. To a certain extent, there is a truth, but they have their own alternates. And you must start believing that you have been trumpeting your rhetorics, that we are after every shade of terrorist. No, you are not. My dear colleague has mentioned that the countries around Pakistan and the Western countries, I'm sorry, I have been in this business of diplomacy. None of them sincerely believe that you have been truthful to your own commitments. Pakistan either oversold itself, and that is the consequences we are today facing. We have lost our credibility. My colleague has suggested we must hold dialogue, bilateral, regional, and with the regional forums, etc. We have been in constant dialogue with McCain, with others who have been coming here. Only last
Recently,
2
yes.
weeks, we have seen very intensive consultations. Somehow or other, we have not been able to impress upon our people who have been our partner in fight against terrorism. He, in his speech, has admitted that Pakistan has made sacrifices, but he has given it as if it only happened in the past. And then he said his view is either everybody, you pick up any article, any think tank's article, they would say Pakistan has not been really true to its commitments.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you here. We've been joined on the telephone line by Suffern Abbas Saab. He's also an expert on international affairs. Thank you for joining us, Zafar Saab. Sir, what do you make of Mr. Donald Trump's policy announcement on the Southeast Asian region, in fact, all the way from Delhi to Tehran? What do you make of it, sir?
I think that at last we have seen this delayed announced policy by the Trump administration. Obviously, when we look about this policy, it seems that his administration is chalking out this policy, keeping in mind India as their strategic partner. They were admitting that Pakistan did because they have no other option, but at the same time, they are using the language that we have to deal with Pakistan. We can no longer be silent about Pakistan, safe haven. So it means that with this kind of a Trump's statement, he's declaring that Pakistan is providing the safe havens to the terrorists, where we have a different stance. Similarly, another alarming point in his speech was that where he was talking about Pakistan and Afghanistan and saying that we have a very clear interest. There he said that we must stop resurgence of safe havens and you can say prevent nuclear weapons and material from coming into the hands of the terrorists. But though he didn't name Pakistan, but it was a part of the same paragraph or same sentence that he linked, that once again he, you can say, based or highlighted baseless threat that Pakistani weapons are not secure. So I can simply say that this speech for Pakistan is to pressurizing it, retreating the same policy which we heard earlier by the Americans, that Pakistan should do more. And here they are trying to, you can say, adopt a coercive strategy, coercive diplomatic strategy, and failing to realize the ground realities, I can simply say.
All right, thank you very much, Jaswal Sir, for sharing your views with us. Sir, everybody basically is of the same opinion that there's nothing new in this new policy. So, considering the fact that statements such as America has no friends, it only has national interests, but by extension that goes to, as you were saying, to all countries should basically be looking at their own national interest when dealing with each other. But if that is the kind of world that we're going to be living in, then what are the consequences of that, sir?
Basically, it is still a jungle, rule of jungle. And basically, there is a thinking that he has left his stay, American stay in the U.S. only because of trillions worth of mines minerals over there. And there have been talk and essays, articles, how Deng Xiaoping in 90s linked its expansion and its global trade with the import of minerals and trading of minerals. So people, there have been articles that that would be the debate given to him. But as Jaspal Saab has mentioned, which we didn't earlier, the element of nuclear and weapons. And then in one paragraph he also linked, when he is talking about the Indian factor and the strategic partnership with them, he is talking about the possibility of a nuclear spiral and the possible
Of a nuclear arms race in the region.
And then the conflict between two neighboring countries, two nuclear armed states. Now, when he talks about terrors, he talks about tension chaos agents. It means it is an open invitation to Indians. Whatever Indian has been saying, I think in a way they got it. Now they will feel emboldened. You will see more what we may call very sinister, very anti-Pakistani propaganda and moves, I would say, more than propaganda, some concrete measures and actions. And India would not feel ashamed. India would not feel
in escalating the problems on the LOC,
would
for
not
example.
would not be reluctant or hesitant. This is the kind of egg-on factor for India which worries me. Now, how it happened, we know that there has been a failure on our side. Within our own home, we are, you know the domestic situation. And so far, I have not seen any statement from the Prime Minister. There may be some, I have seen the statement from China.
Well,
I have seen,
there is a statement from the ISPR, sir, and that is that Pakistan shall do whatever is best in its national interest.
I think how can you equate ISPR's statement with the statement coming from the Prime Minister? This is the kind of response. Here we fault. These are the flaw. Unfortunately, we have left even this kind of responses which should come from the Foreign Office, from the Foreign Minister, from the Prime Minister. I would say, my experience tells me that a statement from the Prime Minister, not a very panicky one, a mature two-liner, three-liner, four-liner should have been there.
All right, sir. Let's hope the powers that be take your advice. Moving forward, there's another aspect to the entire regional policy, and that is Iran, sir. So, Afridi Saab, in your opinion, because we've also heard a bit of rhetoric coming from Iran saying that if the Americans are going to roll back on the nuclear deal or try to renegotiate it, as Mr. Trump has been inkling or hinting towards, their reaction is pretty categorical as well, that it takes them maybe maximum 5 days to enrich 20% uranium if that comes to be the need. So when you have that sort of a narrative also emerging from Washington, what peace can we expect for this entire region, sir? Doesn't look very good.
Yes, the picture is very blurred if we see the peace of the region, right? So I think now the regional states, they should do something new, and they should join hands together for their own problems, right, including the main issue that is Afghanistan. So if we look to the Iranian nuclear issue, that is the gruesome, and of course Iran is also a sovereign state, and it should, I mean, the policy should not be such kind with regard of United States that it can threaten the sovereignty of Iran, right? So in all such kind of situations, I think the regional approach, which is a bit newer in the case, that they should join hands together. The Pakistan, Turkey, Iran, also China and Russia, to have the solution for their own problems. So I mean to look to the issues and problems regionally. Even as the India, United States, they are coming closer together, right, towards one another. Indian strategist, scholar, Dr. Kapila, he also suggested to the United States that the troika in the region should not be, not be welcomed, and the efforts should be done to remove it from the scene. And the troika, which he was mentioning, that was Pakistan, China, and Russia. Right, and if we see in the Heart of Asia conferences and the Istanbul peace process, right, where Iran is there, Turkey is there, and all the regional states, so they are moving towards a regional solution. And also, if we talk about the Iranian nuclear issue, so well, that can also be handled regionally. Yes, we know that United States is superpower, and United States is more wise globally, and it has global reach and global access everywhere. But I mean, the regional solution is the best option for Iran and also for Afghanistan and the Afghan problems. And these states should come and should sit together to resolve their problems and to talk with one another.
Well, let's also discuss a few of the reactions that we've seen in our local polity. For example, the statement that came out from Mr. Imran Khan, for example, is that we must reject being scapegoats for US policies failures. So how do you take that statement from Mr. Khan?
I think this is very statesmanship, I would say, words. We should go, this is what I meant. The Prime Minister, if the Prime Minister is too busy or he takes it so lightly, then his Foreign Minister should have come with this kind of statement and would have reiterated whatever we have been saying in very crispy three-liners. The problem is we have already admitted maybe we are too reactive. We have been waiting for some initiatives to be taken or to be announced, thinking that let's first wait what is coming from Washington.
Right.
While we knew their mind very well, if you look at our own media and the articles over there, they have very correctly predicted the main elements of the new so-called new strategy.
Absolutely. Afridi Saab, going further, one of the very interesting questions that was raised by Rahimullah Yusufzai Saab was that how can Mr. Trump ask Pakistan to do more while inviting our number one enemy, India, into Afghanistan? Now that is a very, very important question that needs to be answered. Everybody wants an answer to that. So in your opinion, sir, do the Americans not realize what they're doing when they invite the Indians into Afghanistan at the cost of Pakistan? That is not going to create a situation that is going to lead towards peace by any stretch of the imagination.
This is, I mean, they know it very well, right? They are not aware of the consequences or about the reality that what they are doing, right? So they know very well. I think there are two things. If we talk about regarding India, that have United States is supporting it in Afghanistan, right? And this the so-called new policy, I think it's not new Afghan policy, right? New. This is old policy. Okay. So one, just to pressurize Pakistan, as you know that Pakistan is at odds with India and has not very good terms with India. And second, because they can't ignore India, right? Just last year, in 2016, India, United States, they signed big agreements, especially in defense sectors, right? And also Trump and this policy appreciated the India's trade role, that India is very good trading partner of United States. So the US is a big market for India and vice versa, right? So there are these two things, one just to pressurize Pakistan, and second, economically, United States cannot ignore India. But all the things, India is sovereign state, United States is sovereign, right? It doesn't mean that their relationship or their good terms should harm Pakistan's case and Pakistan's position.
But
right?
unfortunately, that is the case.
And that is the case, of course. What they are doing, even the Panetta, the CIA director, she also said about the same case, that the Indian involvement or India's more role or the giving more weightage to India and Afghanistan, that will harm Pakistan, and it will have grave consequences for the region, for the peace, and also for the United States.
Absolutely.
So if there are voices within the United States government and also from the US community of knowledgeable people, the scholars, so it means that it is not a success story. And United States should not have such kind of terms with India or any with other country which can harm the Pakistan's position.
Well, taking a few of the other concerns that have been raised in Pakistani media, Ambassador Saab, journalist Zahid Hussain has said that previous administrations were quite careful in not to raise the concerns in Pakistan by inviting India into Afghanistan. But Mr. Trump has gone one step further, and he has threatened Pakistan directly by saying that until and unless Pakistan must cease its activities immediately and get onto the American bandwagon or whatever their point of view on the matter is. And unless they don't do that, then he leaves it an open-ended statement.
Sir, how different this threat or perceived threat is from after 9/11, when either you are with us or against us. And we have been blaming General Musharraf that he sold Pakistan very cheaply. Today, by keeping silent at the highest level, I would say it is an implied loss of sovereignty. Simple as that.
That's a bit harsh, sir, but please continue. I think
No, this is one has to think that if you really want to be treated as a respectful nuclear power and the country which has done so much for Afghans and for bringing peace, and which continue to give blood and material losses, innocent lives, etc. If you really believe in it, then you as a leader must come up to defend your country. This is the right moment.
right.
It is a complete failure of the diplomacy.
Well, let's also talk about what Mr. Nusrat Javed has said, and he says that he anticipates more inland attacks and economic sanctions, in fact. So what do you think that would mean
Yes.
once they start to apply sanctions on Pakistan? How are we going to deal with that? We've already experienced it once.
Yes, we have experienced
Probably
big
it was good for Pakistan because the sanctions actually helped Pakistan to diversify their, their sources of military equipment and whatnot.
Exactly.
So Pakistan actually developed, or there was a great benefit to Pakistan for the sanctions because we were able to take stock of our own situation and maybe do something for ourselves.
Exactly. It happened at the end of 1970s when there was Symington-Brown Amendment from the United States.
And then Pressler Amendment
and
later.
then Pressler Amendment. And also then on so many other occasions when Musharraf also took over, right? And so the sanctions, as you said, that it brings, success to Pakistan and a good day to Pakistan, right? So I think it's not the new such kind of sanctions. Yes, they can do in future because we have already experienced, and if it suits their interest, they will do. They have no concern for us, and they have no care for us. They are careless about Pakistan. And it happens in international relations and international politics that the only friend what you have, that is the national interest. And on the backside of it, if I add this point to my previous discussion, that is also Indian lobby. And in this studio, I have also talked before and other talk shows that there was Indian lobby, and when Donald Trump was campaigning for his presidency, right? So the same thing is repeating now, and now we are having the fruits and this policy of the Donald Trump, that what he is talking about, that economic sanctions or military sanctions are to cut the aid which would be from the United States towards Pakistan, or blaming Pakistan. So all these things, we must be ready for it, and we have experienced in the past. But one and very clear that Pakistan's sovereignty should not be compromised, and we must be united militarily, politically, or as a nation together.
Yes, sir, one last point.
How we are going to avoid the compromising our sovereignty? What means we have?
So we are a nuclear nation.
No, we are not. In this context, let's focus ourselves on this issue. We are the route for their supply to America logistically. We can create havoc with it. Yeah. So we have a nuisance value. Why can't we tell them in our two statement, if you are putting a false blame on us, pinning us unnecessarily, we have our own options. If you think you are sovereign, even if you think you are a half sovereign, please say it. No. For God's sake.
Very good.
This is what I demand as a Pakistani from my leader.
All right, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Cut down the net supply.
Thank you so much for taking out the time and being on the show, sir. Well, you heard the conversation, and in conclusion, we'd like to say that what the Americans say is they want peace in the region, but their actions belie that. And we've spoken on this before, that until and unless they don't take the solution of the Kashmir conflict seriously, there will be no peace in this region for many, maybe centuries to come. And it's better that they look at it and have a peaceful world rather than one which is built around an arms race. With that hope and on that note, it's goodbye.